What's up guys, Village Kev Talks here, back with another video. Months ago I did a video called Celebrities Who Did Not Know Were Gay, in case you want to check that one out. Most of the comments on that video were basically like, we already knew that these people were gay, like this is nothing new. I think the one person that threw some people off was Whitney Houston. I think that's still something that's been kept under wraps for a long time, but in the years since her death, it's been talked about a lot more because people speculate that was a reason for her like misery and that would lead to her demise, that she was keeping this secret or whatever. But when I made that video, I was considering including Michael Jackson, but there's no real proof that Michael Jackson was gay. It's not like he had a life partner or a secret partner the way that Whitney Houston allegedly did with Robin Crawford. But I still, to me as a gay person, and I've talked to other gay people about this and close friends who have followed Michael Jackson's career closely, and I feel like everybody kind of knows that this was not a regular straight man. But again, there's no real evidence that indicates he wasn't straight. It's just that as a gay person and having spoken to other gay people, we see sort of common threads between his behavior and things that we've observed in the gay world. So for me, to start off, statistically speaking, I made another video about this, the science behind being gay. If you want to check that out, there's a lot of science and a lot of data that shows that the more older brothers that you have, especially in a series like consecutively, the more your chances of being gay skyrocket. So that alone, data-wise, the chances of him being gay, genetically speaking, biologically speaking, were incredibly high because he had so many older brothers, right? Then I just think about his mannerisms, and of course here I'm stereotyping, but I feel like if Michael Jackson wasn't the Michael Jackson that we knew, like if he wasn't this huge star who was this great dancer and singer and entertainer, if he was just a guy you met at the coffee shop, or you heard him chat at the coffee shop with the barista or with the cashier, I feel like most of us would just assume that was a gay guy, right? Because he was very, I don't want to say feminine, but just very gentle. The way he spoke, the way he moved, his mannerisms. I mean, most men, when interviewed, remember the Oprah interview when she was like, are you a virgin? His response was like a schoolgirl's response. He was like, gentlemen, don't talk about these things. I feel like a regular straight man would not react that way. It was just everything about him was very, very unique for a supposed straight man to behave. Is it possible that he was a straight man and he was just very, very, very unique? Of course, he was incredibly talented. There's plenty of other artists who were flamboyant or not the average sort of heterosexual man. Prince is a perfect example of this, and as far as we know, Prince was completely heterosexual. With Michael Jackson, I think there's a lot more ambiguity. The biggest thing that stands out for me is the fact that he had these children, and it would seem that none of them were naturally produced. They were all via in vitro. Do straight people have babies via in vitro? Of course. But I do think that always perplexed me, that he was married, I think twice, right? That always sort of struck me as bizarre, that he would be legally married but not have any children through natural reproduction. Both of his wives that he had, including Lisa Marie Presley, have also indicated that he could be very manipulative, and other people who weren't even married to him. I remember the child actor whose name I always mispronounce from Home Alone, so I'm not even going to say his name, I'm just going to put it here because I don't want to pronounce it wrong. But other people have said that he had a tendency to manipulate people, use them for his purposes, whatever those purposes were, and then he would kind of discard people when he felt like they weren't of use to him. And as a gay person looking in from the outside, that seems to me like such a clear thing that a gay person would want to do to hide the fact that they're gay. Just use women, get with them, have kids with them, have a public image of this marriage for show, and then move on to the next thing. And then of course we also have to consider the whole thing with kids. He had a very strange relationship with children, particularly young boys. And I'm not saying whatsoever that there's a connection between homosexuality and pedophilia, but I could see how a closeted gay man who grew up with a lot of abuse and a really intense upbringing, and who clearly kind of had Peter Pan syndrome as well, I could see how he could gravitate towards young boys to feel sort of a comfort that he never had as a child. I don't believe that a straight man would do that. And I think that a straight man, if anything, would gravitate towards both boys and girls. But the fact that he always gravitated towards young, very young boys, coupled with all the other stuff I just said, to me, there was clearly a lot going on in this guy's head. And, you know, he obviously also had a drug problem. There were a lot of things going on. He endured abuse in his childhood, and who knows the gravity of how that kind of level of fame can affect somebody. But it just seems obvious to me that he wasn't a regular, normal, straight man. Also, we have to keep in mind that he grew up in a very strict household, Jehovah's Witness. I don't think the concept of gay was even something that they probably would have vocalized. I think he probably came from one of those homes where that was considered, you know, sinful and demonic, and it wasn't talked about. It's interesting because even after his death, I remember people from his life, specifically his bodyguards, I remember in an interview, after his death, felt the need to talk about how he was really, he had great relationships with women, and he was definitely attracted to women. And I was young when that interview came out, and I remember thinking, how odd is this that the guy has passed away and they still feel the need to proclaim his heterosexuality? Like, to me, that's a red flag. That means something is askew. As always, very curious to see what you guys think and why there has never been a bigger discussion about this.